Hi guys, Philip Good here. I am a relationship coach and I've had the good fortune to be married to my beautiful wife for 48 years. I am a relationship coach and I'm also a love after abuse coach. And why a love after abuse coach? Well, I experienced abuse as a child myself and came through it and turned my life around and found my wife and have lived happy relationship with my wife for 48 years and have 4 children, 11 grandchildren. So I guess becoming a love after abuse coach, which is it's my passion, it's something that I feel really strongly about. And as we know, as far as abuse, particularly abuse with children, like from parents, the mother or father or whatever, quite often the abuse, whoever the abuser is experienced abuse themselves as a child from a parent and is condoned and continued like that on into their own adult life to the detriment of their possibly their spouse and also their children. But today this video is about is about 7 big mistakes abused children make as adults. Because the abuse stays with you for a lifetime. You can never forget it. And if you don't do something about it, it could quite possibly and invariably does self-sabotage any future relationships you may have with a partner because you haven't dealt with yourself, your own issues, and your heart issues, what's in your head, and so on. So the first mistake that abused children make as adults is they don't get help. They feel like they're alone, they're battling alone with their problems, their issues, they don't seek help. Why? Because they feel ashamed, they're afraid, they feel unworthy, embarrassed. Plus, they feel, how can somebody else truly understand how I feel? So, so therefore, invariably, they do not go and seek help. They try and fix themselves by themselves, on their own. But of course, it doesn't work because they're suffering from not only a lack of self-confidence, they've got lack of self-love, they're in a self-pity situation, feeling sorry for themselves, and they're asking the questions, why me? As a kid, why did I deserve this treatment? I've done nothing. I'm only a little kid. But in actual fact, it's not a child's fault at all. The fact that they're abused. Abused physically, emotionally, verbally, and in all those sorts of ways. It's not their fault because your parents are in control, right? You're only a kid. The adult is in control. You're in your parents' actions. If they abuse you in one of those forms, then your parents are out of control. And what you've got to understand is it's not your fault. So one of the reasons why seeking out a good love after abuse coach to help you is that not only have they experienced something similar and have come out of the darkness into the light, but when you share your story with a person that really understands you, really gets you, it halves the pain simply because you shared the story. You got what you got pent up in your heart, you got it out, you got it off your chest, you got it out of your heart and shared it with somebody. Somebody that really understands and gets you and can help you get back into a state of self-love. So it's really so important not to keep it bottled up, to help yourself as a child, as a teenager, and preferably before you get into a relationship, because it'll only complicate relationships and potentially destroy a good relationship. And forgiveness. You have not forgiven the abuser. Well, and I was the same. I used to say that my dad, for instance, he doesn't deserve forgiveness. But what I didn't understand about forgiveness at the time was, and over the ensuing years, is I did deserve forgiveness. I did. And forgiving yourself can lead to self-love. But for me, I didn't forgive my dad until I was 65. And I had all those pent-up feelings of anger and rage locked in me for all those years. When I married my wife at 23, she'd already forgiven her parents. Like, she experienced bad physical abuse. For example, at 16, she was beaten black and blue over her back. She couldn't walk. She crawled out of a bedroom window to a neighbour's place. That's the type of serious physical violence she experienced. But by the time between 16 and 22, by the time we met, she'd already forgiven her parents. And I couldn't understand that. And as a result, all I could see from Eileen, my wife, was the love that came from her heart. And at the time I couldn't understand it. But over the years, I began to self-analyze, as you do. And I realized it was the forgiveness, forgiving her parents and herself, that led to a massive increase in her self-love. And I could see it. And everybody else could as well. So that's why it's so important. That's why forgiveness is so important. Not just for the abuser, but mainly for yourself. And of course, another mistake is you have not changed from a negative mindset to a positive mindset. You're locked in bad memories of your childhood, stays with you through teenage years into adulthood as well. So you're continually thinking about those things, thinking about the traumatic childhood and so on. What you don't, but it's your memories. A past memory is carried through to the present from the past via a thought. So what we teach in the three principles, what I teach, is about changing your thoughts from negative to positive, which leads to positive feelings, positive behaviors, positive actions, and desired results. So you put the blockers in, you stop thinking about your childhood, you stop thinking about the abuse, because how did it serve you? It doesn't serve you, it just serves you. So there's no point in going back there. Put the blockers in and stop thinking about it. That's the past. All we're thinking about now is the present, and the present going forward. Okay? That's why it's so important to change your mindset, your way of thinking, because it has a huge impact on your life and can lead to love, happiness, joy in your life once again. And particularly doing this before you get together with a potential partner as well. So you've worked on yourself, you've got yourself in a better state of mind, you become a loving and joyful person, and you've left those feelings of abuse behind in the past where it belongs, right? And you don't go back there. It's over and done. Today is a new day. That was yesterday, years ago. Yesterday was a different day. Today is a new day, a fresh start. Change your heart. Okay. So, in an abusive situation as a kid, like you may grow up to not really understand what love is. Love is obviously deep caring, something you didn't get as a kid, and the way you would have felt was, you've been trying to, if you didn't naturally receive, because love is a feeling, right? So if you don't feel love from, say, if it was your abusive parent was one parent, say it was your father, like it was for me, then I would try and do, and you may have tried this as well, you might try and do anything to try and win the love of that parent, to try and so that you can feel better, so you can feel good enough, you can feel lovable, and the rest. You belong. You belong in this family. You belong in this world. So you might try excelling in academics and schoolwork, getting high marks and a great report, bring that home. You might be a sports champion, and so you might, like I did, played rugby league and rugby. Um, so I was a representative rugby league player and so. So I did academic excellence, brought home an A's and all in my complete in every subject and report. I was 11 years old. Still, no matter what I tried, and you might have done the same thing, it was not good enough. It was not good enough to receive love from my dad. So that is literally soul destroying. So, but love means let one value the essence. Let oneself value the essence, what's inside you. Let others value your essence. So what you're doing is with love is you're looking into your own heart, see what love is there. When you connect with another person, you're looking at the heart and the soul of that person. That's what love is. But love is about respect. It's about gratitude. It's about deep caring and sharing. And you understand more about that. And of course, it's affection, it's gratitude, it's all those positive things. That's what love is. But it's a feeling, right? And quite often, one of the sad things about love, if you haven't experienced love as a kid, you're sort of grappling with what it actually is. So quite often, you'll enter into a relationship when you get up into 18 plus in the early stages. If you haven't really learned to love yourself, if you have forgiven the abuser and or yourself, you may enter into a relationship with the first person that shows you affection, and you think, and in your own mind, you think, "Oh, this affection, this is love, right?" But quite often, it's physical attraction and sex, but it's not love. Sex and love are totally different things. Sex is a release. Love is a feeling of deep caring, a deep connection with a person. Whereas sex can be just a one night stand. It can be meaningless. So it's really important, and quite often the first person that shows you affection, and you get together with that person, you may end up self-sabotaging that relationship because you don't really understand what love is. And when you get into a relationship, you find, this is not for me, this doesn't feel right. And of course, the other thing as well that's locked inside you is oversensitivity. Oversensitivity to criticism, anybody putting it down and so on, because that's what the abuse was partly about. And so that might lead to you getting on the attack, right? And so you might sabotage that relationship, through an outburst of feelings and emotions that you haven't dealt with. And another thing is what I term is you fail to develop a warrior heart and a warrior spirit. So what's a warrior heart and warrior spirit? What it actually means is you never ever give in to abuse. You never ever give in to it. You fight. You fight for the integrity of your soul, right? You never stop fighting, so it's not good enough. The treatment, you're not going to accept that treatment. You want better treatment than that. You deserve better treatment. You deserve love. You deserve affection. But as a kid, never give in to any abuse. And quite often, what happens is, one unfortunate thing is, if you're getting physically abused and emotionally abused as a kid, quite often you can get into a situation of feeling totally unworthy and out of control. You can, because what happens actually is adrenaline actually kicks in. Adrenaline kicks in when you're being abused, particularly as a kid, or it might be at any age and stage actually, but I'm talking about as a kid. But what adrenaline does, it works as a blocker. It blocks feelings. It blocks the pain that you're receiving on the end of abuse. But the problem with adrenaline is if it kicks in for too long, quite often it blocks out all feelings. So, and to be human, of course, is to have feelings and emotions, right? So if your adrenaline kicks in, if you block out all feelings, then you don't feel any pain, but you don't feel any love either, any of the positive emotions. So that is really, really detrimental to your self-worth, to your well-being. So, and all these things that I've just spoken about, it's so important. That's why it is so important if you experience abuse as a child to get help, not necessarily with a psychologist or psychiatrist, but just simply a person who has been there and experienced what you've experienced, but has learnt self-love, has learnt forgiveness, and how that has impacted his or her life in a positive way, and led to loving relationships as a result. And that's what I'm about. I'm a love and abuse coach. Why am I passionate about that? Because I experienced it myself as a kid. And I realized the importance of forgiveness as a pathway to self-love, loving yourself again, feeling you are worthy, feeling and increasing your confidence, and so on. So that's why I'm so passionate about helping people that have been abused as children live a loving, worthwhile, happy, joyful life. Because why? Because I've done that. That's why I'm so passionate about helping people in abusive childhoods to find love, happiness, peace, and joy in their life, and that way, and by doing that, and by doing the work on yourself at an earlier stage, younger age, before you get into a relationship, you can attract the right sort of partner who will be a loving partner, and hopefully for the long term. So that's why I do what I do. I'd love to help you, and I know I can, because why? Because I've done it myself, and so has my wife, and we've been married 48 years. 48 happy years, have 4 well-adjusted happy children, and 11 happy and well-adjusted grandchildren. So give me a shout. I'd love to be able to help you. I'd love to be able to coach you through your issues. And yeah, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I know, because I've been there and done that. Okay, that's all for me now. Love you guys. Have a lovely day, and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.